Her family embarked on their routine trip to the farm. The air was thick with tension, and the ominous rustling of the leaves foretold an impending danger. As they toiled the fields, a horde of marauders descended upon the unsuspecting family. Once upon a time, in the village of Akama, where the fertile soil met the calming waves of the river, Edidiong and Nsikak lived a life of contentment despite their childless years. The couple paid little heed to the whispers of the villagers who speculated about their barrenness. Instead, they immersed themselves in the fields, cultivating crops and casting their nets into the river to sustain their livelihood. One fateful morning, Nsikak rose before the sun. Quickly, she prepared a meal for her husband Edidiong and made her way to the cassava farm, determined to uproot the tubers before the scorching sun could rise. Amidst the rustling cassava leaves and distant sounds of the river, Nsikak suddenly heard mysterious footsteps. Fearful of the notorious attacks that had befallen the villagers before, she concealed herself among the cassava plants, her heart pounding. The footsteps seemed to vanish, and Nsikak cautiously resumed her walk. As she toiled, a distant sound reached her ears. The unmistakable cry of a baby. Startled, she glanced around but saw no one. The cries persisted, echoing through the air. Unable to resist the cry, Nsikak followed the pregnant sound until she discovered, under the shade of a neem tree, a precious baby nestled in a finely woven basket. Nsikak hesitated, suspicion gripping her heart. Was this a trap set by the marauders who haunted the village? The baby's cries intensified, cutting through the stillness of the morning, and Nsikak's maternal instinct overpowered her fear. She took a step back, then courageously returned, her maternal instinct triumphing over trepidation. The baby's wrist bore a tiny cloth, and as Nsikak gently unwound it, she discovered a name, Edidiong. Could this be the name of the abandoned child? She pondered for a moment, casting hopeful glances around to see if someone would claim the child. But the surroundings remained silent. Unable to resist the compelling fate that seemed to bind her and the abandoned infant, Nsikak cradled the child in her arms and made her way back home. Edidiong's eyes widened with astonishment as his wife recounted the mysterious events of the morning. And so the child, named Edidiong, became the cherished daughter of Edidiong and Nsikak, a beacon of joy in their once childless home. As the months passed, the once childless couple, Edidiong and Nsikak, found themselves on the brink of a miracle. Nsikak started to notice some changes in her body. She was always feeling sick and weak. At some point, the couple suspected pregnancy, but somehow disbelief lingered, as the couple had long abandoned the hope of experiencing parenthood again. Yet, as Nsikak's belly swelled with the promise of new life, it became clear to them that Nsikak was indeed pregnant, a revelation that filled their hearts with joy and gratitude. Wherever Nsikak went, eyes followed her, and whispers of wonderment spread like a plague. The villagers marveled at the double blessing that graced the humble family of Edidiong and Nsikak. Months passed. In the warm embrace of Akama, Nsikak gave birth to a radiant baby girl, whom they named INIOBONG, a name that reflected the divine timing of her arrival. Nsikak and Edidiong showered their daughters with so much love, but INIOBONG, lovingly called Ini, with her innate respect and obedience, became the village darling. Her grace and humility endeared her to everyone she encountered. Edidiong, on the other hand, harbored a bitterness that grew with her. She held an inexplicable resentment towards Ini, her younger sister, and seemed incapable of the love and warmth that Ini effortlessly exuded. Despite the pleas of their parents, Edidiong's heart remained hardened. She would pass elders without a word of greeting and at times unleash her pent-up frustrations on Ini, subjecting her to unwarranted beatings. Nsikak and Edikang, desperate for harmony between their daughters, tirelessly implored Edidiong to let go of the animosity that seemed to poison their family bond. INIOBONG grew up in the shadows of the enchanting Akama village alongside her elder sister Edidiong. However, as Ini blossomed into a young maiden of remarkable beauty, a stark difference in temperament emerged between the two siblings. The more love Ini received from the village, the deeper Edidiong's resentment grew. Just like the weather, Edidiong's attitude towards her sister Ini suddenly changed. Everyone was happy for them. They would go to the farm together, cook together, and do things together. This made everyone around them happy except Nsikak, who had a bad feeling about this. She knew something was off, but she couldn't place it just yet. Nsikak's discerning eyes saw beyond the facade, sensing an undercurrent of discomfort. The unease settled in her heart like a storm brewing on the horizon, and she found herself praying fervently for the protection and unity of her family. One night, as the moon cast its gentle glow over Akama, Nsikak had a haunting dream that shook her to the core. In the dream, her family embarked on their routine trip to the farm. The air was thick with tension, and the ominous rustling of the leaves foretold an impending danger. As they toiled the fields, a horde of marauders descended upon the unsuspecting family. Panic ensued, and the families scattered in different directions, desperately fleeing for their lives. As Nsikak ran, she turned back to check on her daughters, but when she looked back, she saw only her husband, Edikang. In a heart-stopping moment, Nsikak retraced her steps, desperate to find her daughters. To her horror, she found Ini caught in a trap, her leg ensnared, struggling to break free. What struck Nsikak even harder was Edidiong's callous indifference. Her elder daughter stood there, unmoved, watching Ini's distress without a hint of concern or compassion. Ignoring the dangers surrounding them, Nsikak rushed to Ini's side, determined to free her from the cruel trap. Just as she bent down to help her daughter, a deafening bang echoed in her head, and Nsikak was jolted awake, beads of sweat clinging to her forehead. Gasping for breath, Nsikak found herself back in the reality of her bedroom, the haunting echoes of the dream still lingering in her mind. The ominous premonition left her shaken, and she couldn't shake off the feeling that her family stood on the precipice of a profound and dangerous revelation. Unable to shake off the premonition, Nsikak decided to confide in her husband Edikang about the disturbing dream. Together, they pondered its meaning and the sudden change in Edidiong's behavior. As they gazed upon their daughters, seemingly united, the specter of the dream lingered, casting a shadow over the once harmonious household. One hot afternoon, as the sun hung high in the sky, the two sisters, INIOBONG and Edidiong, set out for the stream with their water pots in hand. The air was charged with tension, and the weight of Nsikak's ominous dream lingered. Nsikak asked them to stay back, as she's not comfortable with them going out of her sight. But Edidiong persuaded her parents, assuring them that they will be cautious. After so much plea from the girls, Nsikak and Edikang reluctantly allowed their daughters to go to the stream. Upon reaching the tranquil waters, Edidiong suggested that they take a bath before heading back home. Ini hesitated, mindful of their parents' concerns, but Edidiong playfully convinced her to join in the refreshing waters. "Take off your clothes, Ini. Stop pretending like you don't enjoy the water." Edidiong laughed, tugging at Ini's reluctance. With their laughter echoing through the air, the sisters undressed and waded into the stream. Edidiong, however, had ulterior motives. As they swam, she led Ini towards the deeper part of the water, far from the safety of the shore. Ini, trusting her sister's playful intentions, followed with innocence in her eyes. Suddenly, Edidiong seized the opportunity and forcefully submerged Ini's head into the water. Panic struck Ini as she struggled against the strong current, gasping for air. Edidiong, however, held firm, her intentions far from playful now. Ini fought valiantly, but the strength of her elder sister prevailed. As Ini's struggle ceased, Edidiong scrambled out of the water. Swiftly, she gathered their clothes. With calculated precision, Edidiong put on her clothes, feigned distress, and sprinted towards the village, a facade of panic and sorrow etched on her face. Tears streamed down Edidiong's face as she entered the village, attracting the attention of concerned onlookers.
"Help! Help! Something terrible has happened to INIOBONG,"
she cried, her voice filled with desperation. The villagers rushed to her aid, unaware of the betrayal that lurked beneath the surface. Edidiong, breathless and seemingly distraught, narrated a twisted version of events, painting herself as the victim of a tragic accident. She claimed they were swimming innocently when Ini suddenly began struggling and disappeared beneath the water. Captivated by the story, the villagers, Nsikak and Edikan, her husband, all raced down to the stream. I'm sure you want to know how the story progressed. If you enjoy my story, please make sure to subscribe, not forgetting to hit on the bell notification icon so that when the part 2 of this super story drops, you will be the first to know about it. Thank you.